The question we find ourselves asking all too often in FPL is how to recover from a red arrow, and after 5 game weeks of the glorious greens, a run which saw me rise 8 million places in the overall rankings, it's a question I find myself asking once again. But this time, instead of looking inward for the answers, it's time to look at my mini-league rivals for inspiration, and from this mini-league I put together, the one filled with all the legends of the game and some of my oldest rivals. One name in particular stands out, and it's not a name you'll know because he isn't a YouTuber, he isn't even a blogger, and yet he's strolled into the biggest pressure cooker in the game, and he's left all the masters universally defeated. And the funny thing is, he barely researches the game at all. He only remembers the deadlines because his partner reminds him, and yet he is perhaps a manager with the most to teach us obsessives, and he is where we will derive our lessons from this week. But first we'll have a look at how game week 8 ended for my team, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it because we covered a lot of ground in my walking video, but it wasn't great. Saka got me 7 points in the end despite no returns, which was fantastic. Pedro Porro demonstrated why I am looking to replace him, and kudos, he got the pre-assist and had a goal ruled out, which makes that 2-pointer sting just a little bit more. It wasn't the best week, but sometimes these weeks happen and you cannot afford to overreact to them. One thing I will address though, and hopefully for the final time, is that I have zero regrets about the hit for Nick Pope at all. I made FPL's most forbidden transfer and brought in a keeper for a hit, and predictably everyone lost their minds over it. My comments, they were full of why take a hit for a goalkeeper, and my pubcast cohorts could not wrap their brains around the move, despite me making 2 videos going into quite a lot of detail about why I did. Either do make me chuckle, those silly sausages. So one last time for the benefit of everyone. The first point is I would not have had a spare transfer to get Pope in until game week 16. The second point is between game week 8 and game week 16, I think Pope outscores Vicario by more than 4 points. And the third point, it is not a sin to make a 4-point investment in your team if you think it will pay off long term. And the fourth and most important point is that spending 4 virtual points on that transfer meant I could watch my beloved Newcastle without thinking it would be better for me if Newcastle conceded a goal. Those 4 points weren't just an investment in an FPL asset, they were an investment in my enjoyment of watching the football. Not only do I not regret anything, I might even take another hit this week, because why not? After all, if I'd sold Livramento as well and brought in Mukiele as a sub-defender option, I'd be 17 points better off right now. So maybe the philosophy is correct, it was only my execution that was lacking. The hit for Nick Pope wasn't me losing my head, it was just the coin toss came up tails, and sometimes that happens in this game of chance we all love. So anyway, what's done is done, and it is time to move on, because it is the future where our fortunes can change. And I do have some ideas in mind, and we'll get to my Gameweek 9 team in just a few minutes. But first we'll have a look at the Nightmares Dreamers mini-league, and it's a good time to see how things stand, because we're almost a quarter of the way into the season and things are starting to take shape. And I know you want me to go straight to that mystery man kicking all the legends' arses, but game week 9 is not a complicated game week really, so it will do us good to take just a few minutes and to realise where we all stand in the grand scheme of things so far. After all, it is the foot of the table which really brings home the scale of the challenge before us, and of the bottom 7 teams, 6 of them are my old rivals from the League of Gentlemen. Rock bottom is Gladiator Glenn, the man who pushed me so hard last season, and just above him is King Ding, the 4-time champion of my old mini-league. Also in the bottom 4 is the 2-time asterisk champ Jock and Jeeves, with 3 of my other mates ahead of them. You may not know them, but they all have pedigree. There is multiple top 10k finishes, there is 6 mini-league championships and several other medal finishes. These are top quality operators and they are bringing up the rear. And amongst them all you have the D unit, the plucky Aussie upstart who may just have let that top 5k finish last season convince him he was invincible, and he's now finding out that in this game confidence is no substitute for competence. But we do have something to thank young Darius for, because when we do well, all we ever hear is FPL is a game of luck, FPL isn't about skill, and our man D-Unit, well, he set out to prove that this season, and he created a second team based purely on the toss of his card.
Is Nightmare scared of the card? Is Nightmare scared of the card? Surely this is going to be a yes. Oh, it is too. I told you he was scared of the card, baby. He is scared of the card. I knew it. Nightmare, cop that, mate. Cop that.
And that team, the one there to demonstrate to us all how FPL is all about luck, well, it's ranked 7.6 million in the world right now. So thank you very much to the Socceroos Scrappy Doo, because you have proven that skill and analysis are key factors in this game, and that reliance on inanimate objects to make decisions will ultimately prove unsuccessful. And ironically, out of all of D-Unit's seemingly endless teams, it's the one he did absolutely nothing with since Gameweek 1, which was doing the best. Although he made 5 free transfers for it a couple of weeks back and he has not mentioned it since, so we can only assume that magical D-Unit touch has tanked yet another team. Ah well, I'm sure he's got another 5 or 6 to fall back on later in the season, and maybe that's the real secret to a top 5k finish. Who knows? Whatever it is though, the D-Unit is incredibly entertaining, so get on him. And then in 40th place we have Black Box Ars, and I do feel partly responsible for this because he was so kind to have me on the late tackle, and I spent so much time talking up the merits of taking chances and playing with his heart. And then he went and captained Morgan Gibbs White, and it's been a struggle ever since. And that's on me, that's my fault, and I can only hope Az turns it around, because I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself if I am the reason that Yelena extends her winning streak over him by yet another year. She's already 17 points and 6 places clear of him now. She's ahead of above average Adam, Meerkat Charlie and his wonderful analysis of where the goals are scored, and 2 of the game's greatest mavericks, the legendary Andy Martin, who famously never makes a mistake, and Alex Follow, the artist whose true masterpiece is his insane run of defender differential captains. And then ahead of her you've got the Raptor, you've got Trophy Mo and Nick from the Juice, all these iconic names in the field. And then you realise we aren't even out of the bottom half of the table yet. Like this league I've put together, the one designed to push me to my limits and become the best FPL manager I can be, it's proving a lot more challenging than I originally imagined. And I'm down in 30th now, and I did drop several places, but when you remember I was 9.8 million not so long back, to be where I am right now feels like some achievement. In 6 game weeks I've risen 16 places, and that is the sort of thing I could only dream of not so long ago. I mean, look at D-Unit, he was in the same predicament and he's gone absolutely nowhere. But it only gets harder from here. For one, all of those iconic names behind me plus the D-Unit are hunting me down. But immediately ahead of me I have my old rival go-karting, determined to finally get one over on me. Then there's Elite FPL's Stevo, there's Black Wolf Dan, and then 5 points ahead there are Black Box Luke and the almighty Praz, the mountain I put this league together to conquer. And I should have done this recap last week because I was ahead of Praz then, but now I am behind him by the exact points Kudos had ruled out for offside. I gave the Solio Starboy that head start and I've clawed him back, but he's gotten back ahead now. And this is where I need to keep my cool, because the temptation is always to look at the team of the immediate target and figure out a differential to sign, to try and take them early and then turn the screw. We all do it. We say we don't, but we all check our rivals' teams and look for the edge. And I do look at Praz's team and I see he has Timber and Gabriel, and I know for my team with all its defensive issues those are the two top targets. But then I see them in Praz's team and I think, well, maybe I can wait a week. Maybe that Palace fixture can buy me one more week of differential gain. Maybe Gvardiol and Porro do the business for me and leave Praz hanging on the wire. And this is always such dangerous thinking, because if they are the two players to target, it shouldn't matter that my rival has them. But it does, especially given Porro and Gvardiol are rotation risks, and with Livramento injured and Agbadou out of favour, it makes the decision even harder. Do I sell Livramento for one of those Arsenal boys? Or do I get in Big Dan Burn instead and bank on Palace to score against the Gunners? The answer should always be sign the player I think will get the most points. But we all know in this game it just isn't always that simple. And to be successful, to win this Killer's Row mini league, I do need to push my rivals' teams out of my mind, because ultimately it isn't about Praz or Black Box Luke or any of the other elite operators ahead of them, all of whom I'm going to have to find a way to overcome to complete this challenge. If I focus too hard on any one individual, there are 44 other FPL masters and the D unit ready to punish me. If I get obsessed with the side quest of a head-to-head challenge, I will never be able to take down the final boss and complete my final fantasy. I need to focus on the ultimate mission, and that is becoming a better FPL player. And as we scroll through the table, you will see all these names you recognise, people you've watched on your television for years. 64 top 10k finishes between them, 43 top 5k, 19 top 1k, 3 top 100 finishes, and the man who came 5th in the world last year. And yet, the lessons I have learned so far this season, they do not come from those FPL legends. They come from two other names at the top, two people who could teach us all something. The first of those is my little brother Deadly Daz Laws, who I had to harass and cajole to put a team in, who finally threw one together half an hour before the Gameweek 1 deadline after he finished work. And it wasn't a great team, not really. I mean, for one, he had no playing subs and he had the injured Lewis Hall in his starting 11. Like everyone else, he had Dubravka, except he was my brother's starting goalkeeper. On paper, it looks a very average team. I mean, who starts a season with only 10 players? But the first lesson is my brother ensured he had the best two captaincy options in that squad. And as my man Trigger always says, captaincy is king and you do not mess around with it. So that is the first lesson. And though we all knew that, Deadly Daz hammers that point home because he finished Gameweek 1 third in this league of killers despite only having 10 men. And the second key factor is if we look at his transfer history, what do we notice? Yes, that's right, John McGinn aside, the only transfers he has made has been to sell players who are no longer playing. There's been no clarting about swapping substitutes, there's been no sideways moves from one good player who could score points to another good player who might also score points. Deadly Daz has only transferred out players who won't play for players who will. And even then he didn't sell Lewis Hall until Gameweek 7, and those key tenets, those rules he has adopted have meant that even though he has carried crap players through most of the season, and even though he has only had 10 men play in 3 of the 8 game weeks, my brother is ahead of FPL Mate, Nick Triggerlips, Gary Beer, Marku Ojala, FPL Salah, Hibbo, above average Baker, FPL Pickle, and my brother is even above the phenomenal FPL Harry. All absolute legends of the game, with the sort of rank history you would sell your granny for. Yet my brother's 10-man squad thrown together half an hour before the deadline, that's beating them all, because my brother only sells absent players. He focuses his transfers on his first team, and he does not mess around with captaincy. And oh yeah, my brother still has all his chips in the bank. Of course, that strategy hasn't taken my brother all the way to the top, though if he started with Dan Burn instead of Lewis Hall, he would be second in the table with all his chips still to play. No, ahead of my brother lies last year's world number 5, FPL Northern. Then it's the Mr. Beast of FPL, Let's Talk Andy, followed by Ash from the Juice, Elite FPL Jason, Greyhead from the Great and the Good, FPL Fran, and the hottest rising star in FPL YouTube, Alf PL. This league is a verifiable who's who of the FPL world, and if your favourite isn't in it, rest assured they were invited and declined the challenge. All except Planet FPL James, who I was just a bit too nervous to ask, and maybe I should now ask him if he wants to join. But this mini league, the Nightmare's Dreamers, it has all of the elite names who were prepared to step up to the plate. And part of you has to wonder if the pressure of this competition is a contributor to some of the slow starts we have seen. But of all of these premium purveyors of predictions, these sultans of simulation, these masters of fantasy management, the name which stands tall is my mate the Ox, Dan Oxley. And it's not the odd point or two that he is clear, no, he is a full 31 points ahead of his closest rival. And it's funny because in my old league, the League of Gentlemen, he was the champion of the first meaningful season over a decade ago. And now in this new league, the Nightmare's Dreamers, he looks poised to repeat the feat. The Ox has spent over a decade doing absolutely nothing in this game, and yet here he is when it matters the most, and he is rising to the occasion like the Undertaker at WrestleMania. So how is he doing it? How is this man nobody has ever heard of kicking all the legends' asses? Well, the lessons of the Ox are remarkably similar to those of Deadly Daz. For one, the Ox again did not put too much thought into his Game Week 1 squad. He just picked proven operators in the division and the best options from the team he supports. And when it comes to his transfers, he has been remarkably similar to Deadly Daz in that he has predominantly only sold players who are unavailable, and he has replaced them with proven FPL assets. Okay, Luca Dean was a bit of an aberration, but you can see he was just back in the Aston Villa defence. But beyond that, look at those free transfer signings. Bruno Fernandes, Antoine Semenyo, Mickey van der Ven, Gabriel, Bukayo Saka, proven operators who can make an immediate impact. Even on his wildcard, he only removed absent players and brought in quality assets like Palmer, Mateta and the aura killer Tino Livramento. The Ox isn't out here trying to sign the biggest differentials, or messing around with his captaincy gambles, or trying to outthink people next to him in the table. All he is doing is captaining the best player and replacing absent players with proven quality who he feels will get the most points. Sometimes we all love this game just a little bit too much. We obsess over it, we overthink it, and we overcomplicate it. But those two names, Deadly Daz and the Ox, they're nobody's kicking all the legends' asses. They spend about 15 minutes a week looking at the website. They see what their issue is in their team, and they replace the issue with the best proven player they can afford. It sounds so simple, yet all of us FPL obsessives have forgotten these fundamental rules. We are neglecting the basics, and that is why someone like the Ox, who needs his partner to remind him to make his transfers, he can waltz in and blow us all away. It's why my brother was one Dan Burn over Lewis Hall call away from being ahead of us all, with every single trip still to play. So when I look at my team for Game Week 9, the issue is obvious. I have 2 non-playing defenders on my bench and 2 rotation risks in my first 11. So what is the obvious solution? It's to bring in the best defender I can afford for the injured Livramento. Who is that player? It's Gabriel of Arsenal, who coincidentally has a goal, 2 assists and 2 clean sheets in the last few days. Oh, but Palace are a great attack. Oh, but Arsenal might rotate for the good fixtures. Oh, but what about Munoz or Dan Burn? Oh, but it's a defensive move because everyone has Gabriel. Oh, you're so template. It's all just noise. And those 2 unknown heroes, the Ox and my brother Darren, they've spent all season cutting through that noise and replacing absent players with the best possible replacement. And they are making a mockery of those of us who fancy ourselves as Machiavellian master planners. Too often in this game, the term casual, it's seen as a dirty word. We toss it around like it somehow elevates us because we obsess, like we are superior because of our single-mindedness. And maybe it does help us in the back end of the season with all the blanks and doubles to navigate. But maybe we would all learn more by listening to those with no voice, and maybe then we could understand that sometimes the analysis of the addicted is more clouded than the clarity of the casual. Now if you don't mind, I'm off to fill my brother's head with talk of XG, Defcons and fixture swings, because him beating me, well, that really would be the ultimate FPL nightmare. Ha ha!